Good day, my Tesseract leaders. How you doing? Welcome back to our project. Today, the discussion's on grading and how that's going to be a part of our long-term plan for professional development of us, the math leaders, of our teachers. So we're moving up, kind of winding things down to the last two, using grading to radically improve the math education at our schools through the focused, customized professional development, not of the teachers, but of us. And our axioms for that, we're going to get the teachers to improve their grading, because what we know is that kid at the top is a student. The only way we lift that kid up, the only way they improve, is if the teacher improves. Notice I got a really buff teacher in there, because after 10 lessons here now, we should be beefing up our teachers and their instructional practices. And as we share, that teacher only gets lifted up themselves by our leadership and the systems that we use. In the systems is the PLC. So our symbolism today, I'm moving away from the rock band. I'm going back to the Tesseract itself. Here's the hypercube. So we have the three-dimensional cube being expanded out into four-dimensional space. And the symbolism for us, if you look at this object, is no matter which way you look at it, left, right, front, back, up, down, you see exactly the same thing. I don't know if that's standing on its head or not. You can move it around like a six-sided die. Wouldn't be able to tell you what size up. So there's some symmetry. We want that going on in our schools. We want it no matter which class the kid is sitting in. When it comes to grading, an A means an A, and if they're going to fail, it's for a very specific reason based on the performance to the standards, no matter which teacher they have. So that's what Tesseract represents for us. Now, we're moving down the list. We're almost there. Notice grading kind of saved at the end. A lot of people like to jump into that right away. I think some of the other stuff needs to be in place before this, but you're going to have, this is your plan. You get to play with it however you wish. You'll notice that it's not in any of the notes specifically, other than right here. It's not a general thing. It is going to be part of the pre-unit on the PLC when it comes to like grading of the CIA. But we're also talking about grading practices within the grade book. Weights, percentages, categories, retakes, 100% scale versus rubrics, use of a zero, all that kind of stuff. Those things are going to get talked about, but they're not on our list because we're not trying to it's not like a signature strategy. We're not trying to get teachers to eliminate zeros and do 50%. What we want is, the goal is for calibrated grading, and those will be one of the things we'll offer the teachers that they can try out and experiment. As Dr. William Malone has been saying, our math coach at Chaparral, we need this to be a lot less top-heavy and more grassroots, and so we need to give teachers choice. The signature strategies are there. That's a little more heavy-handed top-down, but the rest of this is more of put the solution, the problems, the issues in front of the teachers with data, and then they come up with those solutions. And this is my new favorite quote. I did an interview with Tim Canel for the Math Projects Journal. I'm going to be posting that soon. We spoke of him last time. He's got a lot of experience running PLCs. He works for Solution Tree and does training on that. But in that interview for the Math Projects Journal, he said, you have a highly functioning PLC when teachers are willing to let their colleagues grade their students' exams and put those scores in their grade book. Hello, yes, we would, because I'm not willing to do that right now. I'm not, as a teacher, willing to relinquish control. If I was sitting in a course team, no way. So we're not at a level of a highly functioning PLC then, unless we're willing to do that. So we're going to move towards that. The grading, this is a really short one. Notice we're already here with the ideas that I want you to think about. And again, you don't have to list any one of them. They will be in the card sort with Desmos. But basically, I want you thinking about, over the course of the 6-year plan, where does the CIA grading come in? When do you want to introduce that? Teachers would be doing during the pre-unit. We talked about that. Talking about not just how they would score certain points, but how do they fit CIAs into their grade book, and that's the grade calibration. How much is homework worth? How do they grade the homework? Basically, and then we get to the point where we do an open grade book, where we really look at all of those pieces. So let me back up to kind of delineate the grade calibration and the open grade book. Grade calibration
is where you have a test, and I've done this several times. It's a fantastic activity. You take a test that a kid has already taken. You take a copy of that, black out the kid's name, and then take that test that was graded by that particular teacher without the marks and share it with your team and have them grade it and see what that very same product of an exam would get from each of those teachers. And I've done it where a kid that got an A on the test, we had 3 samples, an A, B minus, and like what was with the teacher, a C minus on the test. And the A got an A, the B was either a B or a C, but the C minus got everything from a B to a really low F in the class. So their ability to pass the course was not based on their study skills or their parents or anything else. It was based on whose class they were sitting in and who was grading their test. And that was an eye-opening experience for everybody involved. So that's the grade calibration. Then you don't have to decide we are then going to do this. Teachers will naturally do it, or they'll just become more intentional with their grading. And the more they talk about their grading, it kind of all blends. It starts to calibrate, literally just starts to kind of come together in a point. And then we feel comfortable enough to open up our grade books and start talking about weights and percentages. So that's what we're looking at. When in the PLC process would you have the teachers doing this? It's right down there, but you start with the end. If you were to walk in and it was really all going well, what would it look like at the end point? And then you work your way backwards. Those things I just mentioned. There's your code for this Desmos card sort to help you kind of mull things over. But really what we want is that it goes this part of your 6-year plan. All righty. So that'll be in Google Classroom, lesson 10 for the grading. And I look forward to seeing how close we are to rocking this world because we got one more left.